basically home 2 weeks.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of This Our Life. A friend of my wife, or somebody my wife knew, passed away.
Liver cancer.
Ooh, liver cancer.
Inoperable, no chemo.
Anyway, one of my friends, Monica, on Facebook, she posted this picture of a big yellow snake in the kitchen trying to climb up the cabinets. Well, I thought I would tell you a little story about John is wanting to play. A little story about a snake in a house, a big snake.
A little snake? Oh,
hmm
the poor little thing, you got lost. Yeah, right.
We were on Okinawa. It was our first house on Okinawa.
I'm sure that was fun.
5 years. We lived there 5 years, and we lived in 4 different houses.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So,
I think it was a merry-go-round or something.
I think the first was just my father had just left Vietnam, and it was just the first thing we could get. And then, yeah, and then the second we would have stayed in, but things were kind of getting hairy, and my father was ordered to move on base. And then that house, it was a 2-bedroom. It was a duplex. It was a priest who lived next door to us, he and his mom. And my sister came along, and that's 4 people in a 2-bedroom house.
Kind of cramped.
Yeah, so we got what was it, a 1, 2...
All you needed was a cat or 2 in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was it a 3 or 4? I think it was like a 3-bedroom. No, because the maid would stay over sometimes, and she had like a little room that she would stay in. But that was my sister's room. That became my sister's room. But so it was a 3-bedroom house. Although that other room was a little room. My sister was still in the crib at that point. Anyway, so the first house. We're in the. You have to understand, Okinawa is like covered with snakes. I mean, the stories I could tell you about snakes on that island.
And they could carry you off, huh?
Yeah. There's a guy I worked with in San Antonio. He had been in Special Forces. And he was telling me once, he said, I can't tell you what we were doing or where we were going, but we stopped over, a layover on Okinawa just overnight. And then when we parachuted, we had snakes coming out of our parachute packs. Can you imagine being in midair? Those people, those guys, they do halo, which is high altitude. You jump from a very high altitude, but you don't open your chute until you're very, very low.
Imagine the snakes are going, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I don't fly.
yeah. And anyway, so we're in the house, and all of a sudden there's this huge freaking snake.
Did your mother let out a blood-curdling scream?
No, but I think I did, because I was pretty little. I was pretty young at that point, and it just crawls down the hallway. It's like comes in the front door, crawls down the hallway, and there's an air conditioning vent up on the wall at the end of the hall. Climbs up and goes in there.
Oh God!
And that's the last I saw of it. I was like, but it's that kind of snake that she has on that meme. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I think that's a python.
Well, the snake may not have been as big as I remember.
When you were a kid, he probably looked huge to you.
Yeah. It's like I've seen pictures. There used to be a place called I call it F-Boom, Fort Buckner's Open Officers Mess, named after General Buckner. He was the highest-ranking U.S. military officer killed in combat during World War II, and he had 3 commands: the Battle for Okinawa, all U.S. Army Ground Forces Pacific, and I don't remember what the 3rd command was, but And a 5-star general was named MacArthur was just doing cleanup missions. He was a idiot. But anyway,
Isn't he the one that slapped the guy?
no, that was Patton.
Yeah.
But yeah, MacArthur lost the Philippines.
Well, I don't think he had a fair chance to live.
Well, there was plenty of the
There
guys.
wasn't enough.
The guys up front needed ammo, and there was plenty of ammo, but he
Well,
was
it's not like he didn't have enough troops either.
well, and he just didn't order the ammo and equipment up, and
Idiot.
they're all sitting there like,
We're supposed to throw rocks.
like I read some of the interviews and things that from some of those guys, and they're like, well, I have one bullet left, and I'm not wasting it on the Japanese soldier. If it comes down to it, I'm not going to be captured. And that's what happened to some of them. But anyway, people. So another snake story from Okinawa. Gosh, I could go on for hours, days, telling snake stories from Okinawa. Down from our second house, there was an Okinawan school. It's not there now. The school's at another location, and it's a big, brand new, modern building. But it was just a little place. It was over by oh gosh, Makinato Village.
Now you're John.
And
He
see,
always kind of makes like a halfway meow when he comes up to me. Like,
oh,
meow, meow.
see, I'm here, Tia.
Like you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Like, hello.
I was down there with some of my friends, and one of these Okinawan kids, I mean, to me, he was probably a high schooler, but he may not have been that old. It's just, anyway, he just grabs up the tail of a snake and he starts spinning it around like that. I mean, I saw him do that a lot.
Don't let go of that damn thing.
Yeah, and I would stand there scared to death that he would let go of it and it would come straight for me. Never happened like that, but I was scared of that. One of the two of the first things the children were taught on Okinawa: do not just stick your hand under a rock. For two reasons. One,
You might get bit.
yeah, one, you might get bit by a snake, and one of the world's deadliest snakes is on Okinawa. It's a white snake. It's the only place it exists. It's not the deadliest, but it's like top 3 or something. And another reason was because there was a lot of unexploded ordnance left over from the war. You have to understand, we were there like 20, 25, I think closer to 20 years after the war, and there was a lot of unexploded ordnance on that island. Hopefully they've gotten it by now.
Oh, bang, huh?
Yeah, it happened, and so you had to be careful. At Kadena Carnival, which was Kadena Air Base, which was north of us, they had a mongoose snake fight, which I hated because, especially if the mongoose got bit, the mongoose would fight until it died.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, but
They say they're a very, kind of a watcher. I've heard.
and the other thing they would do is they would show how they got venom to make anti-venom. And one day, I'm standing there with my dad. They have like a chicken wire around the structure that they're using. And the guy's trying to get the fangs of the snake into the jar to, drain him. And somehow he loses his grip.
Oh, God.
And the snake comes slithering over toward my direction. I took off running. Because to me, that snake was pissed off at me.
He's going to eat you.
Yeah, he's coming after me. Even if he was like 5 feet over there or 5 feet over there, still to me, he was coming after me. And boy, I tell you what, I don't know how those Japanese soldiers or American soldiers managed Okinawa during the war. All of them, especially the Japanese soldiers, being in the caves and all that. I'm like, my goodness. But anyway, they have, boy, oh boy, do they have snakes on that island. At least they used to. I'm sure they still do.
Oh, I'm sure they.
Uh,
Plenty
it's,
of them.
it's like when Patrick got rid of all the snakes in Ireland, he sent them to Okinawa.
Well, he knew they needed a nice warm place to live.
Yeah. So,
Right?
yeah. So anyway, that's some of my snake stories from Okinawa. I could tell you more snake stories, but those aren't from Okinawa. Those are from other places.
My dad always used to tell me about cottonmouth.
Yeah, down south, yeah.
Yeah, they were bad down there where he was at.
Cottonmouths, rattlers, water moccasins, coral snakes. You don't have to worry too much about coral snakes, folks, because a coral snake,
They'll run from you.
yeah,
I'm a chicken.
yeah, and they're not that big. And in order for a coral snake to get its venom into you, it has to kind of chew. And
More trouble than it's worth for him almost.
yeah, it doesn't have the fangs the way, say, a rattlesnake would. So he has to chew, but like a coral snake could get you in here, between your fingers. But
They're sneaky.
yeah, it would be hard for a coral snake to, like bite your arm or your leg or something like that, because they're small, relatively speaking. They're still a snake, and they're still very poisonous. Actually, extremely poisonous. Oh gosh. Um, Scorpions. I got stung by a scorpion once.
Oh boy.
Yeah, right on my
All the
knee.
luck, didn't you?
Yeah, but that was in the United States, and I didn't know that all scorpions weren't deadly, and there are no deadly scorpions, as far as I'm aware, in the United States. Once you get into Mexico, you start finding those. But I was scared to death I was going to die. Uh, boy, I tell you what, my leg, my whole knee just swelled up something awful. It was stiff, it hurt, but I didn't die. I'm still here.
You thought you were going to.
I sure did. And that's part of the scariest part of it is like, oh,
Scares the get
yeah,
out of you.
I'm gonna die. It's like, no, you're not. But
You feel like you. Sometimes you almost feel like you should.
yeah,
Either.
if somebody would have explained to me it's not a deadly scorpion, but nobody explained that to me, so
Yeah, but sometimes the pain that it causes is like, oh God.
yeah. And you have to imagine if you actually look at a scorpion's tail, it's not all that small. So when it hits you, it actually, I mean,
It whacks you fast.
yeah, it hurts. Let's just say that it hurts. And I just had a pair of pants sitting on my lap because I was getting dressed in the morning, and
There was a critter in there. Huh?
yep, and it went smack against my knee. Well, another interesting, I guess, not a insect or reptile or anything, but there's this girl. This is an old military base in Texas, decommissioned military base, and there's this girl. I don't know what her name was. I wish I could find people that I knew there. It's called Edgemead, and this girl, she broke the glass, the mirror in the bathroom, and she cut herself right here. And she knew what she was doing too, because that blood was pumping out of her arms. And she was fighting the staff. The staff, going and grabbing her, and she's fighting them. And she wanted to die. And sorry, folks, I got hair in my. I thought once I got a haircut, this would stop, but.
Well.
But anyway, but yeah,
Slowing down.
yeah. But one of the staff, he just grabbed her by her wrist and just dragged her down the hall into the infirmary, and I mean, they fixed her up because she was back eventually. I think they probably sent her to the hospital for a while. I don't know, but snake stories. In Houston, I was at the Arboretum, and I used to just go walking out there.
Well, I remember my freshman year in high school, my science teacher had a student science teacher with him for a few weeks, I think for 9 weeks, and like on the last day he brought in, I think it was a python. It's not the kind of bite, but it squeezes you. And
boa constrictor.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
And this one kid had him in his arms, and all of a sudden the snake decides to wrap himself around his waist, right on his belt loop. Like he was
Oh,
going through the kid's belt.
oh my goodness.
Jeez. Like, hey, I got a new belt. He goes, yes.
Yeah.
They had to work to kind of get Mr. Sneaky to let go.
Yeah.
The guy kind of freaked out a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like, could bite something down there
Yeah,
or squeeze something.
yeah. At the Arboretum, there was this, I don't even know what the water source for it was, but there was this little pond way back up in the woods, so to speak. It wasn't, probably shouldn't have been drinking out of it, but I was. And
What gave you that idea?
and one day I was kneeling down there, drinking, and I saw this snake going through the water, and I was like, that was the last time I drank out of it. Oh, snake poo. You know, but,
Well, that's enough to freak anybody out.
but now I don't know if this is true. I've never seen any evidence for it. On the Guadalupe River in Tejas, Texas, supposedly snakes will form into a ball, and like you'd be canoeing or swimming, like if you're canoeing, and there's this ball of snakes, and you take your paddle and you kind of whack at it, they'll go like everywhere. I never saw any balls of snakes. I never saw any evidence of it. I think it was just to scare us. But,
well, that's not a very pleasant thought.
no, it's
A ball
not.
of snakes. Ah!
Can you imagine you're swimming in the Guadalupe River and you go to take a stroke and you hit a ball of snakes?
Ooh.
Yeah. You might not be alive for very much longer. That much
You might
venom.
scare the you-know-what out of the snakes, though, too.
You know?
They're like, ah, 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 ah.
That much venom. Anyway, so those are some snake stories. Sneaky
What you
snake.
need.
What?
Snake stories.
Yes, snake stories. Oh. If it was darker, I could snake stories.
Yeah.
But there are no snakes or no poisonous snakes on Vancouver Island, Canada. I think it's no poisonous snakes. But I think they do have snakes, just no poisonous snakes. Anyway, my friend Wes, he liked snakes. He was into that kind of stuff.
Oh, God.
I wasn't, but he was. Anyway,
Some
bye.
boys are into that shit.
Yeah.